Hey, Marvel Maniacs, welcome to another exciting episode of Guardians of the MCU. This is episode number 230. We're recording this on Tuesday, March 1st, 2022. Happy March. We have escaped February. The devilish short month that we deal with every single year, which doesn't always have the same number of days. Don't get it. Just a reminder, Guardians of the MCU is part of the RandomChatter Network. Please check us out at randomchatter.com for information on all of our shows, membership through Patreon, access to the Escape Hatch Discord channel, and show merchandise from TeePublic. I'm Tim. Joining me tonight, a very regular host and a very irregular host. Although the regular host, part of her face is numb. We're hoping that's going to work out tonight on this live stream show. By the way.
Yay.
So hi Shiva, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Tim?
Good. If does this hurt if you poke your face?
No, it just feels a little weird. Just feels like I can't like I can feel a little bit, but it just feels like it's twice the size that it should.
Okay. Eric, does this hurt when you poke your face?
When I poke your face like that, it never hurts, Tim. Actually, it feels better. It makes me feel better. I'm doing great. I'm very happy to be here. I'm always happy to be on Guardians of the MCU. I love Marvel stuff, and you know, especially the way Star Wars has been going recently. I'm very glad to be on Guardians of the MCU.
It's a palate cleanser.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a palate cleanser. We have a fair amount of news. So let's not delay any further, folks. On to our news. All right. The big headline just announced today. This is great. This answers questions actually that we have had since the inception of Disney Plus, as well as addressing a recent perceived problem that we had. Of course, I'm sure that Disney never thought it was a problem at all. Or they listened to Guardians of the MCU and said, holy crap, that's a problem. We have to fix it. That's kind of what I'm inclined to think it might have been. I'm not sure. So that news, the Marvel Netflix shows. So this is Daredevil and Jessica Jones, The Defenders, all those other associated shows. We had mentioned a couple weeks ago, those are dropping from Netflix as of the end of February. So it's happened. Although in some countries it was March 1st. So it hasn't happened yet. It's going to happen later today, presumably.
Of course, those countries with the time zone difference, it may have actually happened the same time.
Yeah. It may have. You never know. Those will be on March 16th available on Disney Plus in the bigger markets around the world. So this is the US, Canada, UK, Ireland, Australia, and New Zealand. All the other Disney Plus markets it'll hit by the end of the year. But that's big news, right?
Yeah.
People were wondering what was going to happen to these things, but it also answers the question of mature content being on Disney Plus.
I didn't even think about that. The Punisher?
This is the thing that we have been wondering about for truly since the inception of Disney Plus, because it was always, where are they going to put Deadpool?
Wow. You see, now I've got to figure out how to get my son to not watch them, because at 12, I don't want him watching any of those. I'm trying to think of like a single one. Like the Defenders might actually be the least violent of them, but Daredevil was rough. Punisher was rough.
Yeah, Jessica Jones had like a lot.
I was going to say the psychology in Jessica Jones is like way something you don't want kids to.
There was psychology, there was sex, there was violence,
trauma,
there was swearing, there's everything.
Yes, trauma, PTSD.
Yeah, like that was a core theme of it. So, I mean, I'm glad as a viewer, as a grown-up viewer, because I realized when they made the announcement a month or two ago that it was leaving Netflix, I never finished the Punisher season 2. So I had to cram it by the end, by yesterday, and I'm only on episode 3. So, I got a stay of execution.
Nice though, yeah.
I'm happy for that.
Yeah. You will get a chance to do it. So here's how they're doing it. Disney Plus is adding parental controls to basically support these new additions, as well as other things that may be
getting to this.
Deadpool,
but did they say how?
Whatever else.
Okay.
Yes, they did. So parents are going to be able to set rating restrictions for each individual profile, and they'll also be able to establish a pin that can lock profiles and lock controls. So like mom and dad's profile, through that, they establish the boundaries for, say, kid 1 and kid 2. They can access code those control settings so kid 1 and kid 2 can't screw with them. You can also, apparently, if this is how I'm reading this, mom and dad can then establish a pin on their profile. So then kids can't just simply go into their profile to watch Punisher and watch, people's heads explode.
Yeah, that's what they do with the star option here in Canada. That's how they set it all up, is that if you want to have access to it, then you can, but then with parental controls, you can suggest who can use it, who can't use it, if you need a code or a pin to enter or access that, the star stuff. So I feel like it was like Disney was like, we'll use this and see how it works. And if it's good, then we'll use it for the rest of Disney Plus as well. So I feel like it was just kind of like we're like a guinea pig, if you will.
So parents.
Yeah, actually, the article that I got this from said that they had piloted this in other markets. So I assumed it was by way of stars. Stars.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
So parents out there,
Eric,
do not set your PIN to the same as your debit card PIN, because spoiler alert, your kids already know your debit card PIN. They won't let you know that they know. They know. They
especially the ones that play Fortnite.
Yeah. How do you think they have all those Fortnite skins? Yeah. Come on.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've talked about this a little bit on Random Chatter before. This is not going to be a foolproof sort of thing. You still have to parent. You still need to watch what your kids are doing. I mean, a PIN, come on. I knew my mom's ATM PIN and various other PINs that, growing up, especially as your kid, like once your kid hits double digits, good luck with that. The first time they see you enter something, I used to have my son stand up and face away from the television anytime I typed in my password on like Xbox Live or PlayStation Network or the Nintendo. I mean, that would be the one he'd care about the most. Yeah. So, I mean, just, be smart about it. But I'm glad they're doing this, because there's a lot of content like Deadpool and this stuff that we want to see. And we've always kind of wondered about the longevity of this, because if you haven't watched them, the Netflix shows are amazing. Very mature.
Really except for Iron Fist.
Yeah.
Except for Iron Fist.
So.
Yeah, Iron Fist.
I don't know. I didn't hate Iron Fist as much as a lot of people did, but it was not great. Second season of Jessica Jones wasn't great.
I heard people didn't like
it. You could compare it to the MCU films. The MCU films have had some duds too. Yeah. So overall, for superhero television in general, even the worst of it was better than what we've gotten in a lot of other arenas. So,
and on top of that, a lot of, especially now that we know that characters are coming into the MCU, like we've seen Charlie Cox, we've seen Vincent D'Onofrio in the MCU. It wouldn't make sense if they were like, we're taking them off Netflix and putting them nowhere else. Like it just. I was hoping that what would happen once they came off Netflix, is because they're taking them away from Netflix to put them onto Disney Plus. So I was hopeful, but I didn't want to get too excited. But I figured that's what might happen, especially if they are now included in the MCU.
Yeah.
I wonder though if they're going to leave the Netflix like logo in there, or they're just going to completely remove them when they're
Netflix
on
was
there.
They were the production company.
Netflix,
oh, okay.
Yeah, so Netflix was not only distribution, but Netflix was part of the actual production. So I don't believe legally they can do so.
So,
because I was like, that would just be really odd.
I think they legally have to credit them. They have to leave it in the credits. I don't know that the opening logo has to be there at the opening in that same way.
True. Yeah.
But you're right, Tim. There will be attribution to Netflix because they did actually produce the shows. They used their studio.
Yeah.
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 This is great news. I'm excited about it. I was not expecting this at all. I just found out about this today, and this is great.
Yeah. I was being really hopeful about it. I'm like, hopefully they're taking it off for Disney Plus, because I didn't want to live in a world where I had to hunt down, what's it called?
Did we talk about S.H.I.E.L.D. yet?
Not yet. That's I still have that.
I didn't need to jump ahead.
So actually, no, that's fine. Before we get to that though, when's all this going to happen? So I mentioned March 16th is when this is going to appear on Disney Plus. And starting on March 16th, again, the verbiage here is that main accounts, the primary accounts on Disney Plus, will be asked to update their parental controls with the option to display TVMA mature content on profiles. So on the profiles that you don't allow it, that you select TV 14 or whatever is even less, those items, like the Defender shows, aren't even going to show up in their searches, right? It's not like they're going to be grayed out or anything. They're just simply not going to be there. So they won't be seen. It says if no updates are selected, the accounts will default to TV 14 content.
Oh.
So that means you'll be able to watch the Star Wars shows and the MCU shows that have been up on there, but you will not be able to watch the Defender
or to your
series.
point a minute ago, you won't even see that they've arrived. So there are a lot of people who are probably lazy or like, I'm the only adult in the house. I don't need to set up a profile to keep my non-existent kids out. I'm just going to skip it.
Yeah.
They won't even know the stuff's there. That might be a little bit of an oversight.
It could be. I'm sure they'll have some kind of reminder. And you will obviously be able to change things after the fact, by going into settings, but this is going to prompt you right up front.
Yeah, when the Stars account happened, that's what they did. Like as soon as you logged in, when it happened, it popped up and said, hey, do you want to add this into your account? Do you want to set up parental controls? What do you want to do? It give you all that stuff right at the beginning. Okay, so I'm sure at that time, people will log in and it'll notify them.
Cool. Yeah. And Eric, as you had alluded to, all 7 seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which were also being distributed by Netflix, are now moving over to Disney Plus. So I believe that's also going to happen on March 16th. Those are not TVMA because they were on network television. So they will just come under the Marvel banner, and they'll list all the seasons.
I just started that with my son the weekend before last. He had never seen it before, and I said, you've run out of Marvel content. Why don't we put this on? You'll like this. I kind of forgot how slow that first episode was. Yeah, he's like, oh, it was okay, Dad.
I guess with the Marvel, like seeing the Marvel, like the MCU shows versus that, it can be a little slow for some. Because I know when I first saw it, I didn't watch the whole series. I watched at least at the beginning, and I wasn't like, oh my God, this is so slow. I was like, oh, this is interesting. So I guess it's just in comparison now.
It's a little less. That initial hook is interesting, but I think it's more for grown-up speed as far as the storytelling. I think he'll catch on though. I mean, once it gets going, it's pretty good. And I'm glad they're bringing it.
I wonder if now that they're putting this onto Disney Plus, does that mean that now they can use the characters in the MCU? Like, will they show up?
They could. Because
the Defenders.
Well, I mean, nothing prevented them from using the characters before. True. It's just simply a matter of if they choose to actually use anybody. Yeah. I mean, obviously Coulson was, because that's where he came from.
Yeah.
But the rest of them. It depends on what they want to make official canon, Earth 616 canon, I guess, versus what is some other reality. So Sheba and Eric, would you guys lead us through kind of rapid fire the next few news items?
Yep. So new Moon Knight promos show both Moon Knight and Mr. Knight, who is more formally dressed and takes on more of a detective role in a lot of the posters and images.
Oh, I'm up. Sorry, I don't think I've done a news show with you guys yet. Ryan Reynolds says information on Deadpool 3 will come, quote, sooner rather than later. He has 10 minutes, and otherwise, it wasn't soon enough.
Quick. Charlie Cox says about his future appearance in the MCU. I know something. I don't know much, but I know there will be something else. I feel like at this point in time, kind of anybody that says anything in the MCU, I just either don't believe them or they really know more than they're letting on. That's how I take it. I'm like,
Pretty much. I'm surprised they haven't just stopped answering questions entirely.
Right, exactly.
Brie Larson says the script for Marvels is bonkers in a good way.
That is good news because I am upset because Miss Marvel is going to be in that. And if it was going to be not good, I would be very hurt. Personally.
I have mixed feelings about the first Marvels movie, and I really am excited for this one coming up. primarily because of Miss Marvel. And I really want to see how they tackle this, both this character and the integration of those existing characters. So I'm hoping that this exceeds my feelings toward the first one.
You're talking Captain Marvel?
Yeah, Captain Marvel. Yeah, the first. I mean, it's not exactly a sequel, but it's, sequel-ish.
Yeah, sort of. So Aaron Pierre is cast for an undisclosed role in Blade. He has been in The Underground Railroad, M. Night Shyamalan's Old. We'll be voicing Mufasa in Disney's Lion King prequel movie, which is kind of cool. I have not seen any of his other work, which I feel like now I should.
Yeah.
I've seen Old, but I don't remember which character he is. Lyric Ross, another person I don't know, was cast for an undisclosed role in Ironheart. Lyric Ross has apparently been in This Is Us, Sirens, Chicago Fire, and probably some other things. I've watched none of those, so I can't comment too much on this. Speculation.
I watched This Is Us, but I don't remember which character. Hold on.
I don't know who she is.
Okay, yeah, I know who she is. She plays the adopted daughter.
I might recognize a picture. I haven't looked up. I definitely don't recognize her name. But there's speculation that she could be playing Natalie, which is Riri's AI, and I'm not at all familiar with the Ironheart character at all. She's Tony Stark's daughter.
No, she is.
She's just a prodigy.
Okay, who happens to then take over the Iron suit thing?
Yeah, she kind of steals an Iron Man suit and then works on that, and then kind of is a genius, and then becomes
so kind of more of a Kate Bishop sort of.
Kind of, yeah. Okay. Yeah, and she kind of was functionally Iron Man for one of the times when, of course, Tony Stark was dead. He's been dead so many times.
I've had that happen.
Yeah.
And so she was Iron Man for a while, and of course she's kind of like being mentored a little bit by Rhodey, and then somehow Doctor Doom comes into the whole thing, and he's like mentoring her, and hilarity ensues, world domination, yada yada yada. Tony Stark comes back. The end. That's how all those.
And people wonder why Stark drinks. I tell you.
I mean, to be honest, why? I mean, all comic characters die and come back at some point. When people are like, they're not dead for real, I'm like, have you read a comic book? Because that happens all the time.
Yeah.
Like, death is not permanent in comics.
No, not in comics. Let's see. So the final news item here is that the what has been titled the final trailer for Morbius has been released. So apparently they're not going to do any other TV spots or anything like that. Eric, why not Morbius? Explain.
The vampire thing is just so overdone. It's like
Morbius is not a vampire, technically.
Whatever. He's like, what is he like? A half vampire like Blade? Or he's well, no, because he injected himself with that with the super vampire serum stuff, right? And
it's basically artificial.
Yeah,
vampirism.
so he's not even a real vampire. It's like he's a fake vampire wannabe. So it's like he's even more goth. Like he's an angsty goth.
But at least he's not a sparkly vampire type, a la Twilight.
I mean, yeah, I don't even know if that would make me like him less.
All right, Morbius seems to be sparkly. Done.
I mean, hey.
So this trailer was fantastic.
Okay. I have not seen it. I hope it is good.
I did watch it.
It is a very solid horror-y trailer. This is the most horror-y thing that we have seen out of anything that has a Marvel stamp on it.
Here's my other issue with this. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that at the end of the trailer that I'd watched, it's like a new Marvel legend, and I was like, oh, okay. I thought that was interesting. Yeah. I was like, okay, but it's also Sony, so
right?
I like how they're pushing.
They gotta keep throwing that M word in there.
Yeah.
That's right.
You won't watch us unless you know it's
right.
Marvel.
And that's exactly the point. People don't know this character, not the mainstream audience. So if they don't put Marvel up there front and center, people aren't going to go see it. Yeah. And so I think that's a little bit of a problem. And listen, I want to be upfront. I hope this succeeds. I really, really do. I hope that this changes my mind about the character in general. I don't like this type of character. It's not just Morbius. I don't like any of the kind of the Midnight Suns characters that much. But I don't have a lot of faith in Sony outside of when Marvel comes and plays babysitter. I hate to put it that way. The Spider-Man movies that Marvel has I don't even want to say influenced, but stepped in and helped with have been great. I didn't like the Venom movie that much. I hated the second Venom movie. And their track record with other Spider-Man stuff, it's one of those situations where it was really good at the time because it was the best we had.
Sure.
And, you know, I enjoyed those. Those were a time of my life where I really liked those Spider-Man movies. But by today's superhero standards, I just don't have a lot of faith in Sony right now. And maybe this will change. I hope it does.
Yeah. Yep. I hope they saw what Marvel did with No Way Home and went, oh, okay, yeah, we'll let you help us because
that would be nice.
You are, yeah, you're doing a good job, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, one of the comments says the Venom franchise.
I'm with you. I agree.
So what one of the things about the Spider-Man movies is that Kevin Feige is a producer on those movies.
Yeah. True.
On the Venom movies and on this movie, unfortunately, he is not.
Yeah.
And I know they want to launch this out into a whole Spideyverse kind of franchise, right? Morbius is traditionally he's appeared in Spider-Man stuff. You've got, you know, Kraven the Hunter, another ridiculous character. I'm sorry. The Sinister Six might be interesting.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah. I'm very excited about this one though. I appreciate quality horror, and I've really strongly been waiting for it to come into this. And you know, Sheba, we had the conversation of you know, Venom kind of appeared to like be slightly venturing into that, but then when you watch the movies, it really wasn't.
That's what I'm worried about. This is that I'm gonna be like, oh, it's gonna be scary, and then I'll go there and it'll just be a joke, and I'll be like, I did this again. That's what I did with Venom. I was like, they were like, oh, it's gonna be the scariest movie you've ever seen, and I was like, all right, cool, I'm all on board. Venom is kind of scary, totally get it. And then I was like, it's funny, but it's not scary. Like, there's no like not scary at all. So I don't want that to happen this time around for me, because I really was wanting that, because some of these characters are a little terrifying and it would be cool to see them in a scarier way. But if you're just going to make it a comedy, don't tell me it's going to be a horror, because that's what I'm
I feel exactly the same way she does about the Venom stuff, other than the funny part. I don't remember any funny parts at all.
It was funny because it was kind of like, I remember the wig was terrible. Michelle Williams had a horrible wig in the first one, and I could not. And I'm a novice wig wearer. Like, I mean, I wear wigs, but I'm not like super. But I could tell it was bad. So, you know, it was bad. And there were jokes, but there was no horror element in it. And I enjoyed Venom, Let There Be Carnage, only because I was not expecting anything from it, and I was expecting it to be a comedy. And because I was like, it's going to be funny, and I watched it as a comedy, I just laughed at it the entire time, and I enjoyed it a lot more because I was laughing. If I had gone in thinking it was going to be a horror, I would not have enjoyed it. I would have been annoyed again. But this time I was like, it's going to be funny, and I laughed. I literally, anytime one of my friends would look over and he's like, hey, that doesn't make sense. I was like, it's a comedy. And, you know, the only reason I let things go was because I thought
I wish I had found something to laugh at in that movie.
Let's see here. So we do have a couple of items that fall under the realm of some speculation and rumors. So first of all, Giant Freaking Robot says they have an insider that claims that Marvel is looking to cast Giancarlo Esposito as Mephisto.
We're back on the Mephisto rumors again.
We're always on Mephisto rumors here, Eric. Mephisto, like every couple of weeks, we relish in them. Like my dog, even if it stinks, I'll go out and I'll roll around in it, and I'll be really happy about it.
Wow.
So
yeah, I literally, every time something happens, I bring it up and go, it could be Mephisto, just for the sake of it.
You never know.
Yeah, because I feel like when we stop thinking about Mephisto, that's when we're gonna bring it in.
Right.
And we're like, that can't be. That's Mephisto. No, is it? Or, oh, okay. It's gonna happen like that. We're all gonna be caught off guard.
But what do you guys think about the idea? We're not obviously saying that there's any truth to it, but the idea of Giancarlo Esposito being cast into the role.
I love him in all the things, so give him everything. I don't Mephisto anything. Just give him something, and I will be like, "Yep, I approve." Doesn't even matter.
If you had asked me
I'm all for
to cast Mephisto, it would have taken me a long time to come up with people who might have worked for it, and then if you told me Giancarlo Esposito, like everything I would have come up with would have been thrown right out there. I'm like, well, I'm an idiot. Obviously, why didn't I pick him? Like he would make the perfect Mephisto. He's got that kind of that snarly looking grin. He is a phenomenal bad guy, an antagonist.
Yeah.
He's a phenomenal actor. I mean, he can pull off just about anything. He's perfect. I mean, he may literally, I had never heard about this at all until reading the show notes here. He may be the perfect Mephisto. Now, I don't know that this rumor is true, but wow, it would be nice if it is.
Yeah. Can we manifest it? Just now that we've talked about it, can we make it happen? Because I'm all for it.
If we say it on Guardians of the MCU, it then approaches truth. I mean,
I'm in Deadpool 4. Did you know that?
Yeah, absolutely. I did.
I'm in Miss Marvel.
I mean, Kevin Feige listens all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And, there's got to be like countless numbers of ideas that we came up with on the show that they just keep throwing all over the MCU. It's amazing. It's amazing. And by throwing all over the MCU, I mean, if you zoomed in close on the garbage cans that were in the streets of the movies and the TV shows, you might see a crumpled up paper with our idea on there.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Not all of them are bad. Sometimes we have some brilliant ones. But, the other one here, are either of you guys, wow, it's almost like my cheek is numb.
She's actually doing really well compared to you tonight, Tim.
She is. She's very coherent, and I'm not. But actually, that's normal. It's normal.
I was gonna say, it's okay. I got Tim's name wrong once, so it's fine. Every so often.
Are either of you familiar with the Marvel character of Sleepwalker?
Only tangentially.
Okay. All right. So, Sleepwalker, and not going to give a full biography here, but Sleepwalker is a character who actually got his own comic in the early 90s, which was when I was like in my heyday of reading comics. And so I jumped on this. I love the character. Sleepwalker is a creature whose primary power is in the dream world. And he can go in the dream world and basically fights off nightmares that go off the rail kind of thing. There are certain other beings that in this lore are getting into people's minds and controlling them and getting them to commit crimes and driving them mad and all this other kind of stuff and waging entire wars in the mindscape, if you will. So one of Sleepwalker's main enemies became Nightmare, the character Nightmare, which is an old antagonist in Marvel Comics, and actually one of Doctor Strange's earliest antagonists.
Interesting.
So there has been some speculation now and again that Nightmare would be coming up somewhere in here. Nightmare was also mentioned in much more minor level, but alongside the Mephisto rumors for WandaVision. Was mentioned quite a long time ago, before production of Doctor Strange 2 even started, that Nightmare would be in there. So some thoughts that he may appear elsewhere. So we have that connection from the comics. There is another interesting connection, and I just realized this a couple days ago when my order from Hasbro arrived. Hasbro released in one of their recent waves a Sleepwalker action figure. So I thought, hey, I'm gonna get the Sleepwalker action figure.
Right.
It arrives, and on the back of the box they have all the images of the other action figures in that particular run. All of them are from Doctor Strange 2.
And honestly, I wouldn't be sad because we see that scene where Doctor Strange like is having like a nightmare and wakes up and he's like, oh, I wake up and I'm when you were talking about nightmares and like sleeping and taking over dreams, I was like, I could see that connection.
And that's another connection that I thought of.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, when it comes to the Hasbro Legends figures, the collections that they put their characters in don't always have a MCU movie or TV show correlation. Right. Any of them that have related to it and they mix them up. Now, sometimes, a character or two, they don't put, they're not in that production because, but they're bringing them into the collection from the comic books. And the Marvel Legends stuff kind of straddles. Sometimes we get comic booky stuff. Sometimes we get MCU stuff. So it might not be, but boy, there's a few signs that do point to it.
I don't know. I'm thinking no. And here's why. I think if he appears, it'll be a setup for a future movie because Nightmare, probably not that complicated. A character, Sleepwalker, definitely more complicated character. And I think Doctor Strange, the multiverse, is trying to do enough as it is. And then a lot of the other rumored cameos they're throwing in, if we get Sleepwalker, I think it'll be a cameo so they can use him later. I don't think it's going to be much more than that. If he has more than 2 lines in this movie, I would be shocked because otherwise you're putting too many complications and complicated characters into an already complicated movie. And I don't see Marvel making that mistake.
Yeah. I do like one of the comments in the chat here. It said that I thought the mailman in WandaVision was Nightmare. Honestly, everybody thought that mailman was very suspicious.
Yeah.
Yeah, very true. Of course, we were also looking for like, there's a blade of grass in the background that's wavering faster than the others. It was a little.
Let's be honest. It was the first show during the pandemic, and we were all like, we need something. We
needed the conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So hey, we'll see what happens. And of course, Doctor Strange 2 comes out on May 1, so we don't have too long to wait to see exactly how that's going to go. So with that, folks, we're going to wrap up this episode of Guardians of the MCU. We, of course, release in podcast format 2 episodes a week. So if you are listening to this, you'll have to wait a couple days if you're listening to it like when it dropped. For those of us, because we did do a live stream, for those of you who are watching the live stream, hang out, and because we record the second episode right after the first one. We kind of cheat. We don't actually like split them up during the week.
You're going to spoil the episode by letting people listen to the episode?
It's all behind the scenes stuff.
Magic.
The smoke and mirrors of podcasting, if you will. Folks, thanks very much for joining us once again. And yes, do catch our next episode later this week, episode 231. We're going to talk about some music stuff in the MCU. And aside from that, please do catch us on Guardians of the MCU for more news and discussion. Take care.